guys, it's Kyla at the MJC, and today we're going through the filing instructions for the Part 2 joint with minor children. Before we get started, just a couple of notes for you guys. The first is, as always, nothing in this video is intended to be legal advice. It is a video, so I'm obviously not able to analyze your situation, and it's also very focused on procedure, so even sort of the content of the video really doesn't get into anything about whether or not you should file these documents and what's in your best interests and those sorts of things. If you do have questions about that kind of stuff, you can get some legal advice. You can get brief legal advice for free here in Milwaukee County through the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics. The second thing to note is that these filing instructions are current as of the date we're recording this. That's December 16th of 2020. But they are filing instructions for the COVID pandemic, for the courthouse as it's set up right now. So obviously, as things change in the pandemic, some of these processes may change. And once, if you are somebody who's listening to this in the future when we are through the pandemic or we are back to semi-normal, the procedures may have changed significantly. So a big thing here is if you've gotten this from the MJC website or from a volunteer at the MJC or the MVLC, then this should be correct or substantively correct still, substantially correct. But if you have found it just kind of on the open internet, or if it's been a really long time since it was recorded, then you may want to double check to make sure these are the most current filing instructions. The third and final thing is for those of you who've been following this video series and are planning to file in a county other than Milwaukee. I would probably skip this video. These instructions are specific to Milwaukee County, and Milwaukee does tend to be idiosyncratic. Probably the best way for you to find out what the process is in your neck of the woods is to contact the clerk of court or the family court commissioner's office for your county and ask them what the filing procedure is for the documents, how many copies they need, and all that sort of thing. All right, so with all those warnings, let's hop into it. This first section is just going to be a brief roadmap that's going to give us the broad overview, and then we'll dive deeper into the general process for filing. So as far as the forms you need for filing, you will want to have the financial disclosure statement. That's a document that looks like this, and you'll want one financial disclosure statement for each party, so one for you and one for your spouse. You will want the case summary form, and the case summary form is, we'll see if I can manage to get the right one here. There we go. The case summary form is a Milwaukee specific form, so if you anyone in our other counties didn't listen to me and is still following, this is a Milwaukee form. You'll also want to make sure that this form is optional, so if you have completed it, fantastic. We think it's very helpful. If you worked with the MJC, then you likely completed one. But if you didn't find it or somebody told you didn't need to do it or something like that, at this time, again, time of recording, it is an optional form. Other forms you'll need the marital settlement agreement with minor children. So that's this big 13-page one that you would have filled out. You will also need the proposed parenting plan. Again, it looks like this. It's about 5 pages long, and you guys would have filled that one out as well. You will need the interim financial summary if child support or maintenance is going to be paid. So if you are requesting that one or the other person pay child support or maintenance, you'll want that financial summary form. Looks like this. Next, you'll want the divorce annulment worksheet. And I should note that financial summary form is optional. You only need it if someone will be receiving child support or maintenance. Next, we have the divorce annulment worksheet, the form that looks like this. You'll have the findings of fact and conclusions of law and judgment. with minor children, so form that looks like this. You'll also need the party's approval of the findings of fact, the form that looks like this. And last but not least, if one of you is going back to an original surname or a previous surname, so if someone's going back to their maiden name or any other last name they've had in the past, you'll want this abridgment regarding surname form. So those are the forms generally. You will need a couple of additional items. You will need the Parent Ed Completion Certificate. You'll need a certificate for both people. So if both of you took it with the same provider and they gave you one certificate that lists both names, great. If you have individual certificates that list, one lists one person's name and the other lists the other person's name, that's also fine. But make sure you want a certificate with each person's name on it. You'll also need 2 large manila envelopes, about 8.5 by 11, with 8 postage stamps. And what you're going to do with those is you are going to put 4 stamps on each envelope and address them as if they are being mailed, one to you and one to the other person in your case. There is one fee associated with filing this, and that is that $5 docketing fee, which cannot be waived using the fee waiver. The general process for filing these documents is pretty easy. You're going to get everything you need to file, you're going to file everything at the courthouse, and then you're going to attend your hearing. But let's dig in a little deeper to make sure that you've got all the details that you need. First step is to get everything you need to file. So you will want to gather all the documents. You'll want to review all of the documents and make any edits needed. You'll then print everything out, sign everything, and make copies. So we'll sort of go piece by piece here. I already went through the documents that you need, so you can see they're all listed here. Make sure you've got each document. If you worked with the MJC team, we may have written edits or changes that were needed. So like if you needed to look up a bank account, this might say look up your bank account number and write it in on page 4 or wherever the information is needed. So make sure you go ahead and make any additions or changes that are noted. So like you can see on this one down here, add your social security numbers in box 6 and box 12. Great. So make sure that you do any changes that are needed, and also make sure that you review the forms, especially if you were working with the MJC team. Make sure your names are spelled right, that addresses and phone numbers and so forth are right as well. Once you have reviewed everything and you're confident that it's fine and any changes were added, then you'll want to go ahead and print the documents off. If you have somewhere you can print, if you can print at work or if you have a printer at home, fantastic. Otherwise, if you don't have somewhere to print, some places that you might be able to look is you could contact the Milwaukee County Law Library, 414-278-4900. They have been open intermittently this winter, depending on what the COVID cases are doing, so we do recommend calling them to 1, check that they're open, and 2, make sure that they will have printing and copying available. If you don't want to wait for the library or they're not, they tell you that they're not able to do printing and copying, you can contact FedEx Kinko's. You can try some of the Office Max type stores, Office Max, Office Depot. You can go to the local library and see if their copying and printing is available. We are hearing anecdotally that while some of the bigger libraries are closed, some of the smaller libraries, especially in the suburbs, might be open. So anyway, you'll make sure that you get everything printed. You'll sign everything that needs a signature. You'll know if it needs a signature because you'll have a little signature block with your name and address information on it. And then you're going to make photocopies. You can see over here in this cleverly titled Copies Needed column, it tells you how many copies you need of each form. So the financial disclosures, you just need the original, 1 for each spouse. Case summary, just the original. For the marital settlement agreement, you need it to be the original plus 3 copies. Proposed parenting plan, original plus 3 photocopies. So you can go down through all of these and make sure you've got the right number of copies. Make sure as you're doing printing and copies that everything is printed single-sided. The court does not have to accept documents that are printed double-sided, and many clerks will not accept them. Make sure you gather your additional documents as well. Your Parent Ed Completion Certificate, those 2 large manila envelopes with 8 stamps each, Make sure you don't need to put anything in the envelopes. The court will use them to send you back final divorce information. And last but not least, collect that $5 docketing fee. Once you have gathered everything, you're ready to take all of your documents down to the courthouse. You'll take all of the originals, copies, and additional items that you need, so those 2 envelopes, your certificate, and that $5 docketing fee, and you'll drop everything off in room 104 of the Milwaukee County Courthouse. That's 901 North 9th Street, and the courthouse is open for filing weekdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. After you file, you'll go home. That's all you need to do for now. Within a few weeks, the court will send you a hearing date and may send you additional information with that paperwork. It is, we hear, taking several weeks to hear back, so go ahead and be as patient as you can. If it has been over a month since you filed and you haven't received anything, you can contact the court if you have a number or if they provide you a number to contact. If you do not have a contact with the court, you can always contact us at mjcdivorce@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to try and help you figure out your next steps. Once you've gotten that court date, your final step is just to appear at the court. I'm sorry, not at the court, to appear at that hearing date. Most hearings are happening remotely, so make sure you don't go to the court. It'll either be by phone or by Zoom. The court will provide instructions about how to call in or join that call, and they just want to make sure that you call in or join using the link in video at the appropriate time. And then that's all the instructions for filing the Part 2 joint with minor children. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful. If you have additional questions during pandemic times, you can reach us at mjcdivorce@gmail.com, and we'll try to get back to you with answers to your questions. Until then, thank you all for watching the video, and I do hope that you go out and represent yourselves well.